you should be. Yes, it's recording now. Yes.
Is it recording now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
I gave you the permission to record everybody.
But it's already started recording.
Yes, it started recording. So we're going live now. Can we all mute ourselves, please?
You can mute all.
I know, but I usually like people to do that.
Oh.
So it doesn't look rude, you know?
Yes. It looks like people are coming in still.
Yeah. Day 2. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, it's evening here.
Hi. Thank you, Macy, for coming in early. Thank you, Ms. Damilola, for coming in early. Thank you, Esther Michael, for coming in early. And thank you for, who else came in? Ademo Dupelola. Yeah, thank you so much for coming in early today. Thank you
You're
all.
welcome.
It's a wonderful time today. I'm so excited. I want the day to be over.
So at least we can go and get some rest.
Be over, but then I know it's gonna be a success. So today's moderator will be Ms. Dami. Apparently, she'll be starting off with introducing KTC-KYC Educational Consult and Academy, what we stand for, what we do, and you know, especially the academy that is coming up soon. We trust God. It's going to be starting up soon. But we'll keep you in the know. We'll keep you in the know. At the end of the session, we'll be asking us a question about if we, we'll be asking a question in that direction that will guide us towards, that would provide us more information about the KTC-KYC Academy. It's a vocational academy where we teach individuals, teenagers, and young adults with disabilities. We teach them skills. So yes, we will be providing you with more information. So I hand over to Ms. Dami for the question and answer session. We both will be moderating but every other part of today's meeting, seminar is going to be managed by Ms. Dami. Over to you, Ms. Dami.
Good evening, everyone. How are we all doing today? I'm super excited. Welcome to day 2 of the Send Outreach. Yesterday was amazing. And I'm hoping and believing that today will be much more interesting, at least hearing from what my people will say, horse's mouth. When you feel that things that are not achievable, and then you hear people giving testimony about how they have supported their own children in making the best out of life. When you've been able to, differentiate between the reality and the ideal thing, and supporting your young adults with disability to achieve the best in life. So today we'll be we'll be having on Macy to talk to us about something very interesting, because I wouldn't want us to take so much time of the introduction, because I know that at the end of the day, we all have questions. And that is the essence of our being here this evening. So Macy, over to you. You have just 40 minutes to talk to us about the topic of today.
Okay, I'm going to start sharing my screen. And you can see my PowerPoint, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to get started. All right. So thank you for having me today to share about my journey professionally as an autism specialist and professional, and also my journey of self-discovery as a neurodivergent, as a parent, and also as somebody who's very passionate to figure out the future for people with differing abilities. So for me, because I've been doing this for a long time, almost 30 years, I have worked with clients who are not little kids anymore. They might as well just be my own kids. This young man, Alex, I worked with him as his behavioral consultant when he was 3 years old. He is now 29 years old. And it's been a blessing for me to be part of his life and his family's life. And, you know, all of our guys have incredible stories to tell. And, you know, I am here to tell you that it's a marathon and not a sprint. And this is why I'm sharing this presentation today. So I worked with Alex when he was 3. I began putting together the ABA program for him, train his therapists, train his parents to implement a very intensive in-home program. And within 6 months, we taught him to read. And I'm sorry, there's still sounds in the background, so I get distracted very easily. So if you can, somebody can mute the background sound, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, Macy, you need to unmute now. I just muted all. You should unmute now.
All right, got it. Okay. So, okay, thank you, everyone. So, yes. So then when I switch over to a relationship-based intervention, so I did behavioral intervention for about 12 years, and I actually studied under Dr. Ivar Lovaas at UCLA. So I was classically trained to provide behavioral interventions, and, you know, I work as an educational consultant. That's basically my job, in addition to designing in-home program for kids. I also work with these clients, team members, school, speech therapists, occupational therapists. So along the way, I really picked up a lot of different methods. I took pride in myself in being able to customize very eclectic and creative programs for my clients. And yet, even though they were able to participate in school with minimal or no support, however, when it comes to the motivation and the drive to really be part of the family member, being able to share their stories, and just, you know, all this stuff that we're saying, that being able to be a mindful person, that was the part that I couldn't figure out doing it through, you know, behavioral programs. So I looked into a relationship-based programs, and I became certified in relationship development intervention. And it's very different than ABA, because this is very much a family-based, relationship-based, person-centered approach. And for about 20 years, I only work with parents. Now, moving on with the journey, because, you know, my clients are not little anymore. This is Alex. And also this is Mateo. Mateo is a teenager who has written 5 books, and he did it all using his letterboard. So that's how he communicates. He doesn't communicate verbally. He shares his stories using his letterboard. RPM is rapid prompting method is the method that they use. And I wanted to share, hopefully after this presentation, that as parents here, I can help you to become more hopeful and have a different mindset in terms of what would be the best way that we can prepare our children to grow up to become the best versions of themselves. Okay, so I like this saying very much, that I can share with you. Since last year, I learned so much from the autistic adults, autistic advocates, you know, who are very much firstly advocating for young autistic children and trying to learn about the funding for support for autistic adults and what's going on in the world of neurodivergent employability. And I'm telling you guys, it's a jungle out there. It's a jungle out there. There's really here, and I'm here in San Francisco Bay Area, where we have a lot of big corporate companies who are really pioneers in trying to do their best to engage with autistic advocates and really trying to figure out how can they include people with different abilities of all kinds. But, you know, each person, whether that person is autistic or that person has clinical depression, that person has learning challenges, you know, neurodiversity, being neurodivergent, it's here. It was here years ago. It's here today. It will be here in the future. But I think because of the stigma, you know, in Africa, in Indonesia, where I came from, you know, well-intentioned people are not being educated the right way, because all of the early interventions, they are put together by one, neurotypicals, and secondly, it's based on a medical model and very, very old research. So there's so much more, there's such a great need for new research, you know, hopefully being led by autistic clinicians and medical professionals, and as well as like teachers and all these, you know, the team outside our, who are involved in our children's lives. You know, there's so much need to really educate differently and understand differently, because it's really a jungle out there. Once our children become young adults here in America, when they turn 21, all of the funding and support is no longer there, right? So if the mountain is steep to climb for our children, why don't we help them to be the best climbers in the world? So I'm hoping that I can plant seeds in your mind after this short presentation. Okay, so next slide. This is, you can Google this anywhere, 21st century employability lists. You can find different versions of this. I'll let you just quickly read it. And I tell you one thing, I'm still figuring all this out. So these are abilities that if you own companies, you own business, you want to hire your staff, you know, this is the kind of qualities that they will be looking for, right? Can our kids do it? Absolutely. I think we're all trying to do this every day. Every day, as mom and dad, if you're a teacher, if you're therapist, you know, if you're in the position to guide a young mind, you're already in this position to be able to make decisions, to be creative, to think outside of the box, you know, to be able to figure out how to communicate the best way. You know, as parents, when we are guiding our children at home, this is what we're doing. You know, we may not use these names actually, but this is essentially, this is what we're doing ourselves in order to develop these abilities in our kids, all of our kids, whether it's, you know, you have one neurotypical and one neurodivergent child, it doesn't really matter. But I think this is not just for business owners, but this is also for parents to really develop as we raise our children. Okay. Okay, so let's think about quality of life. Typically, you have a baby, you know, let's say you're a young parent and you have a baby, and you have dreams for your family. If you're a father, you love to play soccer, for example, and you have dreams about playing soccer with your son or your daughter, and you have dreams about taking your child to soccer games and really share this passion with this child, right? And then you have a diagnosis, and boom, that dream stops, right? Because it's not our fault as parents, because really the medical professionals don't really know how to best communicate and prepare parents who really they come to you thinking there's something wrong with my child, something is not right, and you as a medical professional, you are in the position, really powerful position actually, it's too much entitlement, I think, to be able to just put a label on a piece of paper and a list of a checklist of things to do for parents. And I do believe that most parents receiving this diagnosis in that office, they're just given what, 1 or 2 hours and a long report to figure out, and social media to rely on. But what parents were not being told is that, yes, your child have neuro differences, your child might need some support, but your child also wants the same things as any other child. Your child wants to grow up with unconditional love from you guys as parents. That's number one, right? Your child wants to have a sense of belonging. Your child wants to be given the opportunity to be successful, to be respected. You know, it's the same rule as, you know, any kid would want that, whether or not that kid has a label or not, right? So we're not told that as parents by medical professionals, that yes, your child is different, your child is atypical, but you as parents, you already have a lot of strength and the makeup and the wiring to be able to guide this child, right? So that is not told to parents of young kids. They're not directed to the right kind of information. I think that there should be a list of good information for parents of young kids where they can learn, a list of books that they can learn. And yes, there's such a thing as too much information on the internet, because when you're parents of a newly diagnosed child, you're already in that panic state. And then with too much information that is not applicable to your child and family culture, you are in constant crisis mode. Okay, so when it comes to quality of life, I like to talk about this. You know, when we think about what is a meaningful life to our autistic family member, we have to think about, you know, the neuro differences when it comes to sensory perceptions and the expressions of them. And we also have to think about the social differences and the thinking pathway differences, right? And what is meaningful to us as parents, it's not necessarily meaningful to our family member. at any age, right? So in the example of this father who really loves soccer, maybe he's a soccer player, does that mean that you stop dreaming about getting your child involved in soccer? No, absolutely not. It just means that you have to figure out a way to share your dream with your child in the way that it's meaningful for both of you. Okay, so when we think about meaningful life, it also means that it works for your family culture, for everyone in your family, because our child doesn't live alone, you don't live alone, there's always that family dynamic involved, right? And each family has to drive the career goals. This is very, very important. So what happens with autistic adults, they go through years of therapies. They think that there's something wrong with them because they know, all of our kids know, and they have a sense that learning, for example, and understanding and learning, these abilities don't come to them easily, right? So this is why parenting our neurodivergent children the same way that we were parented, our templates from how we were raised, what was familiar to us, growing up, it's not going to work for our kids, for our neurodivergent kids, or maybe neurotypical kids, because it's a different time. Right. So a lot of autistic adults, I'm connected with them through, Facebook groups, and many of them still need a lot of help, because a lot of our kids and young adults, they have co-occurring conditions, right? They might have ADHD, they might have depression, they might have obsessive compulsive disorders. They're so complex. In addition to the autism differences, conditions, there are other things involved. I have those other co-occurring conditions, right? So I think even though autistic adults still need a lot of support, they're just stuck because they don't want to ask for help from parents, because they feel like all these years, they were not able to grow with the types of therapies and support or things that were being told to them. The autistic adults feel that it's not helpful for them. So when it comes to living independently and getting jobs, they still need a lot of support from family members or other guides, but they feel so broken that they're just living in isolation, and it's quite depressing and very, very sad, right? So this is why each family has to drive the career goals. Don't follow what other people are doing. Don't rely on the internet. Don't just do exactly what the professionals tell you without asking the questions. Actually, asking questions is very important, because as professionals, we can prescribe things for you, but if we cannot show you how to implement those goals, then the parents will fail, right? But I'm going to talk about how do we, as parents, as siblings, as a family, how do we drive the career goals to begin with? Okay, so let's talk about employability and what does that mean. Okay, so many autistic adults that I'm connected with, they're very artistically talented. So yesterday we heard about Gwen's son stories, who is very musically gifted, and autistic adults say, well, we're so tired of reading about, oh, autistic people have superpowers. Oh, we could do this, we could do that, it's so tiring. It gets old because many of us don't have talents. I don't have those kind of gifts. I wish I could sing, but I can't, and all we have is our voice, like our ability to stand up. And, you know, autistic people do that very well because they know what they're talking about, right? And they are in the position, if given the right opportunities, to be able to guide the young generations and maybe make a career out of it, right? So employability means different ways. And from the person's point of view, this is what I want you to think about. Today is about taking your sons or daughters' perspective, right? Okay, so what does that mean? I have the potential to strive for independence within my current abilities. Now, current abilities, yesterday I mentioned about throw normal out the window. And remember that progress does not have an expiration date, parents. Progress is forever as long as you're a willing learner. So keep that in mind. So when I say current abilities, it could be, you know, the ability to read instructions. It could be the ability to remember to put your shoes on, like before you go out. It could be the ability of remembering to flush the toilets, which we're still working on that, believe it or not. You know, and it could be anything that's important for your families. We are still working on like knocking before entering the room. You know, people think, why do you work on that? Because that's important for me. You know, I have 2 teenagers. I think that's important. It's also teaching manners, you know. So as parents, you talk to each other and really establish, you know, these small goals, because they are part of abilities. And it will be great if, you know, we have young sons and daughters who are mindful in these small, you know, just being able to notice what needs to be done in the community. How to be helpful is such a great ability, right? How to be intuitive and being perceptive, for example, right? So striving, I have the potential to strive for independence within my current abilities. And what better environment to figure out what are those small goals that our kids can work on. But just as parents, we help set the goals, we initiate it, okay? I have the potential to meet expectations, given the opportunities to learn new skills in a variety of settings. As parents, if we don't expect, if we do not expect, if we don't start somewhere, then that means we're not finding the opportunities. We're always like relying on our blind spots, that every day is the same, you know, and it could be driven by like school achievements, or you're worried about school. I'm worried about school too. I'm one of those. I'm not a tiger mom, but I think it's also in my genes to really, I get anxious when something is not being done. So I understand, right? So, but can your child learn to say please and thank you? Absolutely. They may not be able to say it, but they can use gestures. So these are like, I'm really thinking that parents can set these expectations in the way that is meaningful for you as a family, right? And every family is a little bit different. Uh-oh, there's somebody. I'm muted. No, I got distracted. Okay, so meeting the expectations in a variety of settings. So I'm always very, very impressed when I see young adults who are very, very polite. You know, they don't have to be told what to do. And these are things I always notice when, like, a teenager, for example, would hold the door open for me, or would help me with my suitcase when I'm on the airplane without me having to ask them, you know, can you help me with that? I think that's tremendous. I always think about what great parents this young person have, right? So this is why this is not directly related to employability, but these kind of personalities and qualities that we can hopefully show our kids, help them to stand out when they do have to apply for a job. It helps them to stand taller and walk in confidence because they know how to treat people with respect, right? And for example, Alex, my toffee guy, he has, he talks, he can express wants and needs. But for example, if you ask him, what do you use your money for? You know, he cannot respond to that. But when he sees me, he gives me great compliments. Every time he sees me, he'll say, for example, Macy, I like your purse. And another time he might say, I really like the color of your lipstick. Another time he would maybe compliment my husband. He might say, so he compliments differently between men and women. He might say, compliment my husband's glasses, reading glasses, for example. So I don't know how actually that his parents were able to model and help him to really monitor anyone and be able to find opportunities to compliment verbally, you know, even though in general he's not really speaking that much, but he's very, very communicative, and everything he says and do around you is very, very meaningful, right? So so when we think about employability and what does it mean, it's not just training jobs, do this, or training how to fill out resumes and things like that. No, that's not how we make our neurodivergent kids stand out. You know, we have to raise them to be top-notch human beings because they're going to stand out amongst their peers. Because I think like young people being able to problem solve and communicate, having good manners, that's a lost art because everybody's on the screen, you know. But if we can raise young people to become like Alex, for example, that's top-notch employability skills, and that's how you can help them to stand out. Have a sense of competence and pride through my efforts in work-related opportunities, right? Taking pride through my efforts and doing it the best way. And I say that work-related opportunities, it doesn't have to be a big job, right? So remember, an atypical brain, they have to work harder compared to neurotypical brains, right? Their mind works differently, of course, but in general, I think kids with special needs, they just, every time they wake up in the morning, they already have to work extra hard. And you throw schoolwork on top of that, therapy, the world is very chaotic to begin with, and we can't really control that. We can't control like external stimuli. We can't control the lights. We can't control the sounds. We can't control all these things, right? Because it's just part of nature. But when you have kids who do the best that they can, even for short amounts of times throughout the day, they're doing the best that they can. It may seem that they have behavioral issues, they push back, or they're very, very rigid, but that's actually them communicating with us, I'm trying to do my best and I can't handle more than what I'm able to do now. I think as human beings, we want to do well when we can. And the challenge with, having autism and everything that comes with it, as well as other co-occurring conditions, if your kids have apraxia and, dyspraxia and all these things, it just means that we really have to develop their sense of competence and give them the opportunities and practice in a gentle and respectful way so that they can have pride and they want to keep trying and they want to continue with their efforts, because the efforts, you guys, it's not easy. It's not easy. Okay. So at home, this is where we can really, that is our job as parents, is to make sure that we feel, and it's feeling, not just seeing. We feel their efforts and making sure we spotlight that. Okay. So as parents, I think I say this to parents now. Is there a window? And you're told probably by professionals many times. You might be told, okay, your child is non-speaking now. You have until the age of 5 to make sure he speaks or develop all these skills. Otherwise, it's a fail. Otherwise, that window is going to close. That is BS. Excuse my language. That is not true. That is not true. Why? Because our brain is plastic. Our brain is an experience-dependent organ. That means that depending on the experiences we expose ourselves to, that's how we can continue to grow, right? So when we're talking about, is there a window, optimal window for the ability to make progress? That's not true. That's not true, right? So I work with adults, as you will see in the video clips shortly, that they're still learning. They may be 15, they may be like 25. Alex works really well and he learns quickly, you know, because we set the right kind of goals and set the right kind of support for him. So don't let professionals scare you. Don't let them say, oh, if you don't do this, you're going to fail. Right? I wouldn't work with professionals who tell you that, like who wants to rush things, you know, and development is not linear, even with neurotypical kids, right? It's not a straight line. So keep that in mind, right? So when do we begin teaching kids to develop career skills or abilities, right? Well, first of all, you have to give the opportunities at home, and don't just think about skills, because skills without the building blocks, it's not going to stick, because it's not meaningful to the person, right? So when we think about what can we do at home to start just working on the building blocks, you could do a lot at home, right? Because our kids, for example, if you have a behavioral program, we know that they can sort very well. A lot of kids sort very well. A lot of kids, they have very strong visual skills, right? So they actually see the world in words. For example, they can type very well. They can tell their stories very well. So these are all abilities we can, you know, we don't just teach the skills at home, but we also have to help them to want to learn it. We want to help them to love to read, to love doing all these things, you know, and be proud of it. Because in the future, these building blocks might turn into a leisure opportunity in career options. So let's talk about those options. Volunteer work. There's no shame in that. They may not get paid to work at the begin with, right? But I think they enjoy doing it. It's fine. You know, so a lot of parents feel like, especially parents from my country, they don't want their children to work in a certain environment. You know, it's like shameful for their families. And I always tell them that if our kids enjoy it and they're developing some abilities in that environment, let them do it, right? They're with other people, they're learning how to be guided by other people. You know, if they come home happy, let them do it. They may not get paid to it. And internships might lead to permanent positions or permanent part-time positions, right? So a lot of people with complex co-occurring conditions, they cannot work for even 3-4 hours. That's really a long time, right? And it's hard. It's hard. So I know a lot of autistic adults, they have degrees, and some have multiple degrees, but they end up, working at the grocery store, bagging, doing the grocery bagging. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's already very hard for them, because to work outside in the community, a lot of jobs require their brain to work even harder. That's why it's okay to find different types of work opportunities or internships to fill up the week. So think about it like that. So you can think about that now, even though your child is like 7, you could think about it. Yeah, you can visualize it. I recommend maybe you write it down with your partner, because you're gonna, every year is gonna be a little bit different, and you can revise this future journal for your family and for your kids, right? So don't get stuck on the traditional definition of career. We have to think outside of the box, right? Libraries would be good. Volunteer at the senior center, that you're going to see Alex do that, or volunteer work is fine. Self-employment or home-based business is actually great, because you can help them build a sensory friendly work environment. I know very successful businesses. It's just doing it at home in your garage, and and sometimes you can connect with different organization, and each organization would make up one product, and you can sell it together, for example. So an example would be, there's a group in my area, and the young adults, they make fragrance-free lotion and soap, and they sell those to hospitals. And there are a lot of hospitals all over the Bay Area, but those are the products that they do. They specialize in those products, right? Can you, for fun, make soap or candle or whatever with your kids at home? Absolutely. Do it now. Explore it. Develop hobbies, okay? Some people, they start with just creating a product with their family member, and then once it's successful, you can include a few other differently abled individuals. That's fine too, but you just start very simple. Okay. Small business employment, so I'm talking about like just small mom and pop stores in your neighborhood, like your dry cleaners, or your cafes, or your flower shop down the road. Those small size businesses, it's actually perfect for our kids, because it's lower pace, and the types of job assignments might be easier to learn, because it's not like so many different components of the job. So, but how do we convince these small businesses in our community to offer opportunities or internships? So that's the $1 million question. The answer to that is for parents to take their kids out. So a lot of parents in Asia, it's easier to leave them at home, right? And it's just because they cry, they make noise. It's very uncomfortable for them to go out. But if we do that, then our child will never be part of the community, and business owners in our community will not see them, right? We as parents also have to build a relationship with our community, so that in the future, we know them well enough to be able to say, hey, my son really enjoys doing this. He likes to draw, for example, and he loves to draw food, and you maybe ask the restaurant owner, would you let my son, draw the foods that you have? And, you can make his art creation, like show them at your restaurant. That's just an example. I just made that up just now, but I could see that, right? So this is building a relationship with our community should start now. right? And then of course, lastly is the corporate companies. It's bigger companies, maybe they have more people, more mentors to be able to guide, neurodivergent employees, and of course it depends on what your child or your family member likes to do. If the person likes to have technical skills, like all these engineer skills, or like gaming, you can just come here because there's a lot of like companies, like they're hiring here. So everybody's a little bit different. All right. So the beginning process, I think starts with us parents. I say this to parents of little kids all the time. You have to detach yourself from that medical version of the diagnosis, because as an autistic adult, I will tell you that it's not correct. It's not correct. Well, the DSM-5 completely excludes the sensory differences, and that should be number one on the list, for example, right? So I want to really help you guys to think about how can we, first of all, fall in love with our child's differences, and that is, when we do that, it will change everything, I think. We're not going to worry so much about the stimming behavior, for example, the hand flapping, the pacing, all these things. The autistic kids sees and reacts to the world. That's just their natural ways of connecting with what they see and hear and smell. Everything comes together in such a pure way for them. They feel the energy from all these things that, neurotypical brain would not be able to even pick that up, right? There is a freedom and beauty in being able to do that freely, and I think, well, sometimes I feel jealous to like just be able to be free like that. So that is the gift for them, to be able to self-regulate, doing certain kinds of actions. And the self-stim behaviors, I'm sure parents will ask later, like, is that something embarrassing in public? It's embarrassing if you as parents feel embarrassed, but it's also an opportunity for our community to learn about what autism is all about. So people self-stim because they need to self-regulate. It's an expression of how they feel. It's part of their communication. It's how they decompress after a tough day. It's just the way they react to the world, to make sense of things. That's the function of self-stim, right? So if you take that away because you think that's not an appropriate behavior.
Hi, Macy.
Hi. Yes.
Time almost up.
Oh my God, really? Okay.
I've just sent you
I
a
cannot
message
see
as well.
you.
I've sent a
Oh,
message.
okay.
Oh, I can't see it because I'm just
Sharing
looking
your
at, okay. All right, so let's finish this. A diagnosis without self-acceptance is self-limiting. So you can have a diagnosis, but if your child doesn't accept it, then it becomes very limiting forever, right? Self-advocacy, that's a big word. I think that should begin from within the child, right? And again, that process starts again with how we see our child to begin with. Raising an apprentice instead of a passive follower, that's very important. If there's just to teach skills and checklists, and your child can follow it, complete it without understanding the concept, at the context, that's not raising an apprentice. Okay. We need to be guides instead of instructor, especially for moms and dads. I think we need to learn how to set a small goal. I think I already talked about those small goals earlier, and we want to praise the effort and give specific feedback. I think yesterday we also already talked about that. Okay. So the foundations are creating a safe and secure relationship at home first. And with other guides, we want our kids to be able to come home if something happens at school. They have to feel safe to be able to communicate with us. We want to have clear expectations. So even if you work on one small goals, you have to keep working on it, right? And some days might feel different than other days. We want to provide opportunities and add support when as needed. So with sensory differences, every day is going to be different, and it's our job as parents to intuitively be able to support instead of like prompting, like jumping in and fixing it all the time. And as soon as possible, we want to transfer the responsibility to the apprentice. That's very, very important. And competence equals motivation. So for people to say, oh, my child doesn't want to do anything without a bride, that's because the child doesn't feel competence. When they feel good about what they can do, that's when the motivation kicks in. Okay. So I think we already talked about this like yesterday a little bit, so we can talk about it later. Self-fulfilling opportunities, it doesn't have to be income generating, but it's something that you can, our kids can happily do as leisure time to connect with a couple of friends. So I made a list there. Okay, so now we can do the videos. How much time do I have? Can you tell me? Let's see. All right, so let's just finish up all the slides and then we go to the videos. Okay, so our nonprofit provides the career screening tool, and the outcome is the video portfolio, which is what I'm going to show you of Alex's video portfolio. And we coach families and communities doing online classes for a group of parents and one-on-one coaching. Okay, let's finish this. So I want to finish the presentation before I show you the video by reminding you, before you can be anything, you have to be you first. So our job is to be able to help our kids to be themselves, to be their most authentic self. All right, so let's look at.
Macy, can we do the video when I'm done presenting, so that we just put it towards the panel session?
Sure. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So thank you, Macy. That was a very awesome presentation. So now we'll move on to Mrs. Damilola Banwo. She's the director of, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can. We don't know where that sound is coming from.
Oh, okay. So she's the director of KTC-KYC. Let me just give you a little brief about KTC-KYC. The meaning of KTC-KYC is know the child, know your child. So when you know the child, you know your child. And this is like a vocational kind of institute, or let me call it an academy, where what we do, because I'm part of the KTC-KYC group, what we do is to advocate for children with disability to gain vocational skills. I don't know, Mrs. Dami, she's so crazy about, let me use that word, she's so passionate about children living with disability to have vocational skill. Because where we come from in this part of the world, children with needs are usually hidden. They just keep them in, lock them up somewhere, not giving them any form of financial independence. They just, just lock them up somewhere. But she is part of the people that have now come out to say, no way, this is not going to happen any longer. Just like you've heard from Mrs. Tola Makinde yesterday. It's something that has been going on, and we have quite a lot of people coming out now to say, no, it's not going to happen. We need to help these children. There's this quote that I'm going to use to back this up. It says, being disabled does not mean being disqualified from having access to every aspect of life. So because I'm disabled does not mean that I can't have access to every aspect of life. So Ms. Dami will be talking to us on the rudiments of pre-vocational and vocational skills development. Ms. Dami, you have the floor.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Dami. Thank you. Thank you, my able counselor for the KTC-KYC team. So Ms. Dami is the academic and behavioral counselor for the KTC-KYC team, because we work with schools, we work with young adults, we work with kids, we work with institutions, we work with quite a number of people. We partner with a lot of people. So, at some point we would need a counselor on the team. And she's always been there right from inception. Thank you so much, Ms. Dami. So I'll share my screen now. So just like Ms. Dami had said, the KTC-KYC idea came in 2018 while I was having a chat with a friend, and this friend of mine has been supportive all the while. She is on the conference today. Her name is Adilola Edema. She's such a wonderful woman that I am very proud to have met at some point in my life. We've had a wonderful relationship, and up till now, that she is always my go-to person, and I am also a go-to person when either of us is stuck somewhere. It's so easy to call up each other, and then we talk things through, and then we make solutions happen. So thank you, Adilola. I remember that discussion I was having with Adilola, and then she asked me, she said, Dami, what do you want to do with KTC-KYC? No, she said, Dami, what do you want to do? I know that you have a lot to talk about. You have some things you'd like to add. You have some value you want to do. What exactly do you want to do? I said, if I'm going to have anything, if I'm going to do anything, I want to speak out for young adult teenagers who are just left at home to do nothing. The parents are just comfortable with leaving them in the house all day. And by the time they come out one day, you see them as they themselves feel as though they are not in this world, as though they've not been living on earth, because they don't get to come out. They don't get to see life, to see the world for what it is. So I want to help parents see beyond that perspective, that mindset that a person with disabilities or a person with limitations should be kept in the corners of the house. And when people are coming to visit, you quickly lock up such a person. No, that person is first of all a person before the limitation or disability. First of all, a human being. First of all, a human being. So yes, we'll be moving on from here, and I will be talking about the rudiments of pre-vocational and vocational. Macy has actually said a lot today. She said a lot of some of the things I plan to talk about, but then it's fine. We'll be moving on from there. So KTC-KYC, know the child, know your child. Thank you. And then another branch of KTC-KYC is the KTC-KYC Academy. We used to be just an organization where we consult, we provide consultations and the likes, but now we have an academy that trains young adults with disabilities to learn a skill, learn a vocation, and help them along the way. Not just putting them somewhere to do something, no. We're supporting them, we're coaching them, we are helping them learn life skills, helping them learn, all they would need to learn, improving their social skills, their communication skills as much as they can within their disabilities. So let's start with this. There is this quote that I so love. There is this quote that I so love. It says that you're not disabled by the disabilities you have. The disabilities you have, you are able by the ability that you have. Another quote says, disability is the inability to see ability. For me, these two quotes shaping who I am and what I do when it comes to my career as supporting people with disabilities. I see them as people with ability. However, there could be a disability, there could be a limitation, but they are individuals who can do something, regardless of how minute it may appear. All right, so my introduction says that life existence is full of activities that gives us meaning. The fact that we're able to participate in meaningful, productive activities in our day-to-day life shows indeed that we are existing. Existence is all about being able to partake in the day-to-day running of our own life. The fact that I can determine my life, I can be a part of my life, I can be a part of my own decision making, I can be a part of how I spend my day. You know, there is that sense of fulfillment and that sense of awareness that I am living a conscious life, not just sleeping and waking as the days go by. No, but I am actually being a part of life. I'm able to make decisions about my own life. So there, I actually do think it's the same. I feel that there is no existence if we do not have a right or ability to participate in our day-to-day life. There is no existence if we cannot determine how far we want to go or what we want to do or how we can participate in our existence or in our living. So pre-vocational skills and what are these two factors? So this will be our focus, and then the vocational skills evaluation and development. I'm going to try to run through the slides because time is no longer, time is now far spent and against us, but I will try to run through as quickly as possible. And at the same time, highlight salient points that we should be taking home today. All right, so pre-vocational skills are actually prerequisite skills that require an individual, and it aids the learning and mastery of a vocation of choice. In other words, they are residual skills and abilities that are needed in order to function effectively at a vocation of choice. Meaning, now, what does this mean? It means that pre-vocational skills are not something you just learn. Oh, I want to learn pre-vocational. No, these are innate skills that you begin to develop as you live, as you exist, as you evolve, as you grow up, as you mature. These are things that are embedded in our day-to-day activities of living, whether as kids, all the way from being children, all the way to we become adults. Things we do as simple as using our hands, being able to pick things, handle objects, look around, talk, communicate with people, brush our teeth, brush our hair, comb our hair, tie up our shoelaces, whatever thing it is that makes us, be able to live life and be a part of life. Are pre-vocational skills. They're not the word skills. That doesn't mean that they are something that you have to set time for to do. However, because we are talking about people with disabilities, at some point, we have to teach some of these skills, especially for parents. We have to be deliberate about teaching these skills, to kids or individuals who have a disability, who cannot pick up the skills, on their own as they grow because of their presentation or disability, so they are taught these pre-vocational skills, and then, we move on from there. All right. So it refers to the preparatory phase where a person develops skills, knowledge, aptitude required for a level of skill expectation. Pre-vocational skills are also referred to as precursor to vocation. So areas of pre-vocational skills, communication skills, speech or use of AACs, augmentative and alternative communication systems. This means that being able to verbally communicate is not the only way to communicate. There are other ways to communicate. Because someone doesn't use words or someone doesn't speak, doesn't mean he cannot communicate. Such a person can communicate. However, he must have been aided, supported, and allowed some accommodations, which part of the accommodations is being able to, build on, the use of augmentative and alternative communication systems, which involve remembering when Macy was speaking, she talked to us, she showed us a picture of a young guy, I think a teenager who had written books. However, the young man is not verbal, he's not speaking, is without speech. However, he has been able to write books using letterboards. He's been able to communicate to the world through his books, and these books, he didn't speak to get these books written. He used letterboards. He built on a strength or another aspect of communication, such that he is impacting lives and reaching people through his books. Interpersonal relationships, collaboration, empathy, these are things we learn in our day-to-day lives. The fact that, as even right from the home front, parents incorporating children in day-to-day runnings of the home, chores in the house, picking up responsibilities at home. These are actually skills that prepare an individual for adulthood, basically for adulthood, for independent living. So that's why I said that pre-vocational skills are not skills that are out of the, they are not skills out of the blues or other. These are things that we must have been doing, but we would give them a name and some classifications just for us to be able to reach you and let you see that these truly are things that you as parents can do or have been doing so far. Gross motor function. For gross motor function, pardon me. Okay. So for gross motor, we have the motor function, we have the gross motor function, the fine motor function, the range of motion. Now, all of these are embedded in our use of our joints, the body parts in our day-to-day activities. So you have a child with disabilities at home with whatever disability, but you're helping this child is going for therapy. You're helping this child use his joints, use his hands, use his body, use his fingers, use his hand. Even if this child may not be able to use all of his joints, but at some point you're helping this child to impact his environment, to be able to relate with his or her environment through movement and body positioning and postures. Work behavior. For work behavior, we have punctuality, we have commitment and sincerity, we have taking initiative and responsibilities, we have memory and retention, we have coping mechanisms, which involves criticism and stress. All of these things are all of these aspects that are developed right from childhood, right from home. A child learns to be punctual by going to school or going for appointments, going for church meetings, going for gatherings, going for birthday programs. He learns punctuality through all of this. Commitment and sincerity. A child learns to say, oh, yeah, my yes is my yes and my no is my no. Because as parents, we model these skills, we model it and we let them learn the skills as they grow. It doesn't have to become something they will do in the future or something we will set out time for and we start paying a professional to start teaching them all of this. These are things that as parents, as professionals, while working with children at this point, whether they are children or young adults, we are helping them build all of these things in day-to-day activities, in their day-to-day living, taking initiative and responsibilities, through taking up activities. Maybe, oh, who is going to do, for example, we say, oh, who is going to help me do the dishes today? And then one say, oh, I will be doing or there is a set of activities that should be done in the house or responsibilities. And then you allow, your individuals to choose what they want to do and how they want to participate. They take the initiative to decide, oh, okay, I think this should be done. Oh, I think this floor is dirty, it needs to be swept. Oh, I think the chair is dirty, it needs to be dusted. So these are taking initiatives and responsibilities, being responsible, being intuitive. These are the things that we groom as they grow, as they develop. Memory, okay. Memory and retention, coping mechanisms, criticism and stress. Now, just like Missy has said, bringing it back to when she talked about steaming and flopping, eye contact. We spoke about eye contact yesterday, so it doesn't have to be something they cannot cope with or something they cannot do. Within the confines of their disabilities or limitations, we are helping them manage how they cope with criticism and stress. We know that, oh, this is a stressor for my child, or my child has come to know that this stresses me out, so he learns to manage it. I remember yesterday, Macy was saying that I get distracted when there is noise and I'm presenting. It distracts me big time. And at some point, 2-3 times she had to stop because there was noise in the background. At some point she's learned to manage stress. She's learned to manage our indicators to stress, and also these are work behaviors that we work on as the individual matures, as it grows up. They are not things that we have to wait for a particular time. It starts right from the home front. Personal skills. For personal skills, we have confidence, we have self-esteem, we have habits, we have interests. Now, personal skills means that, skills that are inherent to personality, to growth, to individuality, to uniqueness of that person. Learning to be confident, learning to speak up, to be a self-advocate, to be a voice for oneself, regardless of limitation, learning to say yes, learning to say no, learning to hold shoulders high. These are things that cannot be done when we keep them covered up in the house. These are things they build when they are in part of the society, when they are seen, first of all, as individuals that they are, and then as parents, as guardians, as professionals, we support them to build and to be well established in these skills, such that when vocational advices come to them or options are presented to them, they are already on the right footing towards being independent individuals. Just like Macy had said, she said that do not let any professional say, oh, if you don't do this, you can. No. We support them. We give guidance. However, we let their own interest prevail. We are not giving them what to do or telling them what to do. We are helping them build what to do. We are helping them build a personality. We are helping them form habits, even whilst they are growing, whilst they are in our care as children, as individuals, as young adults. We are helping them along the way, building all of these areas, even in the way we relate with them as individuals. So work skills, ability to follow instructions, ability to learn new skills, neatness, frustration tolerance, safety awareness. All of these pre-vocational skills are skills that are developed right from the home front, right from growing up, not set us out for a particular time. However, if these skills are not there, then you may be reaching out to professionals who will be directing you on how to incorporate this skills acquisition in their day-to-day life, in their day-to-day development, and at the same time, maybe some professional help and assistance in this regard. So vocational skills evaluation and development. Work is a duty, a task, or an undertaking. Vocation refers to a category of activities that are work-related, including education, training, paid or unpaid employment. All right, so now, when we talk about vocational skills, we're talking about skills that help towards employability. We're talking about skills that help towards functional independence. We're talking about skills that help, in the context of this presentation, talking about skills that help towards financial sustainability, and or better still, talking about skills that help towards being a value-added person. Now, evaluation for a vocation usually is person-centered. And if we all remember from yesterday, one thing that we all have been clamoring on and have been repeating over and over, is the fact that interest plays a major role in vocation, choosing a vocation or a skill acquisition for persons with disabilities. And you may tell me, oh, but I know better because I'm the parent. Of course, you know better because you are a parent, but then this is about an individual's life. not about you as a parent, not about you as a guardian, but about this person, first of all, who will be living a fulfilled, a meaningful life. So it is all about finding out what are the strengths, the limitations, the ability of this person, and then building on this, we move forward. I stated yesterday when I saw the video of when I saw a video Macy sent to me a while ago, I think about 2-3 weeks ago, of the toffee guy who makes toffee. The founder that he just loves to do that, and it became a skill. It became a means of sustenance for the young man. I've seen quite a number of people with disabilities who are working in organizations, who are working as who are working as entrepreneurs. There was a time I saw a documentary about a young man with autism whose parents set up a restaurant for him because he loves to cook. So, and then he was managing it well with the help, with the support of his firm, but that was something he was interested in. That was what I believe that was why they had to look in that direction for him. Another typical example is with Zane. I saw the video of Zane on my Hakai, so I will be sharing the video on our Facebook group and maybe on my Facebook wall too. With, of course, with the permission from his mom. I saw the video I took while he was playing the guitar. Zane taught himself the guitar and is a guru at it now. I saw it's about 11 minutes video. I will be sharing that later on our social media platforms. So yes, it's interest, strengths, and abilities are something we just cannot overlook. We cannot ignore when we talk about vocational development and vocational enablement, empowerment for persons with needs. So areas in vocational skills development, we see work readiness, we see socialization, communication skill mastery, and expertise. We see workplace safety. Currently, I work with young adults. I work with young adults 16 to 24, 18 and above to age 60. I think I've to age 40 to 60 now currently, and we basically all the activities we do with them, or what we do with them at the moment, is to help them get a job. We have at my current organization here in the US, I work with an organization here in the US, and what we do is we teach them vocational skills. We have a variety, and we ask them to choose which one they want, or we give them, we ask for their areas of interest, set vocational goals for them. What do you want to do? This and this and these are what we do. This and this and these are what we can offer. What do you want to do? How do you want to what do you want to do? Do you think this is something you can do? Are you interested in these kind of things? And we have quite a number of them who say, oh, I am interested in computers. Oh, okay. So we have a program currently that runs for persons who are interested in computers and who are technology savvy. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to empower them so that when they are done and are certified to do this job, they are able to gain employment, or better still, be entrepreneurs. So what, in essence, what am I saying? Work readiness is actually an aspect of vocational skills development whereby we prepare them for that employability phase itself. We prepare them for that independent living themselves. Now, that means that they must have acquired some or most of all the pre-vocational skills that prepares them for vocational skills development. Imagine if this person cannot communicate at all, cannot relate with people at all, always wants to be in isolation, he doesn't want to relate with the outside world at all. I have not seen such a person with disabilities, though. I've seen people who have been at that phase and have moved past that phase, but then pre-vocational skills are actually precursors to vocational skills development. And in work readiness, we further improve their socialization skills through group activities, group play, and group work, group task. Communication skills, we improve it by allowing them relate with themselves, relate with other people, relate with families, relate with friends, be able to speak up what they want, what they do not want, what they are happy with, what they are not comfortable with. And then at the same time, whilst doing all of this, we help them understand the job market. We help them see what they are able to, what awaits them as individuals who are skilled or who are entrepreneurs. So skill mastery and expertise is a big thing in vocational skills development. You cannot say you want to be an entrepreneur and that particular skill you say you like or you say you're interested in, you're not ready to become a master at it or be ready to give it your best and be the best in it as much as you can. It's something that when you meet people and you tell them, oh, I make toffees, they see you actually making toffees. Oh, I'm a baker, they see you actually baking. Oh, I'm a graphics designer, they see you actually creating graphics designs. So work readiness is in that regard, where we develop all of those skills. Then workplace safety. Workplace safety means that we are able to, as professionals, while supporting aspirants, while getting them ready for the outside world where they begin to employ other people, they begin to work, they begin to volunteer, they begin to serve, they begin to add value. We watch out for safety for them. And at the same time, we also educate them and support them to be better advocates for themselves, to the point that they are able to identify imminent safety hazards or dangers and ring an alarm in that, to stay safe and to not be in danger. So we teach them all of these things. We encourage them to do all of these things. So our likely thoughts, you may say, is there a timeline to start pre-vocational skills development? No, there is no timeline to it. It's something you develop right from the home front. As a parent, as a guardian, these are skills that we develop right from the home front. They may not be work behavior when we are working with them from the home front. They may just be part of our day-to-day or activities of living, whether basic activities of the living or instrumental activities of daily living. However, these are activities that are embedded in our day-to-day existence, day-to-day running of our private lives. So there is no timeline to when it is most appropriate to start it. It is appropriate when we start training them and they start maturing as persons first. As persons first. The way you would raise another sibling without a disability is the way you should raise the person with a disability, because he is first an individual. The disability does not mean he will never be able. There is always an ability in that disability. We just need to look carefully and see how well this person can live a meaningful life. Will my younger adults with special needs be ever independent? The term independence is relative. Yes, within the threshold of disability, he can be independent. Can I be advised on way forward? Yes, you can. That's all of what I've talked about are things we do at KTC-KYC Academy, where we train, in vocational skills acquisition towards being an independent, sustainable, and functional adult with disabilities. Thank you. I think I did a good job trying to finish on time. Thank you, Ms. Dami.
Much. Oh, okay, yes. Thank you very much. You've done a wonderful job. Sincerely speaking, this is enriching. Though I'm a counselor and part of my counseling aspect has to do with vocational training, but not in terms of disability. And joining KTC-KYC had actually given me the leverage to, I've been able to understand much more. And for us to understand that there is much more we can do for these people rather than having them on the street begging for money. We can make them independent individuals. if we all can join us together and support this set of people. Okay, so let's move on quickly. We'll now have a panel session. So if you have any question, you can type in your questions in the chat box, and we'll have the panel session. Miss Dami, I think we'll have about 5 minutes to get ready for the question and answer session.
Oh, okay.
Do we have about 5 minutes?
We have about
Just to,
about 3 minutes actually.
okay, about 3 minutes to compile the questions, right?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So please, if you have any question, can you just type in your question into the chat box so that we can take your question.
While people type questions, can I play Alex's video?
Yes, I was going to say that. Yes,
Yes,
you may play the video.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, you have to stop sharing first?
Sharing. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay. All right. So let me show you Alex's video. So let me show you this one is how he puts together his toffee orders. And as you can see, he gets quite big orders from events. So he's very precise. And when he knows what he's supposed to be doing, he doesn't stop until he's done. So he doesn't get up. So this is one video and he does everything by himself. And the only thing he needs help with is the delivery because he doesn't drive. But he does everything pretty much independently. So this is the part of the career assessment tool that we did. So that's him. So he does a lot of like fair, like arts and crafts fair or special needs fair, and they usually set up a booth. His other business is calligraphy. So he writes these cards, he creates the cards. Okay.
That's Pixie. So when you're ready, when you're finished playing with these, you can do this. Whenever you're ready, you can take your time.
So the career assessment tool, we want to look at how they regulate. So they're allowed to bring their own like fidget toys. So that's the Slinky is his fidget toys. And the second phase, we're looking at all of the executive functioning skills, how they learn by doing, how they put a task together, how they're able to read instructions and so on.
Okay.
So that's him with his prepared tasks. So he was able to put together his cards. He sells his cards at gift shops all over the area.
Okay. Let's get ready.
Third one this is a sorting book activity, and it's something that autistic people can do really, really well. They could show you how they do visual motor coordination activities and how they are able to understand and follow instructions.
So Alex, we have some
So what comes out of the lesson is that he has a hard time with communication. So he doesn't so we needed to work on his ability to self-advocate, because he can't really tell you I'm done or what's next. So I've completed this many and so on. So that's what we've been working on as part of his career. Goals. So I'll share you. That's him volunteering at the senior center.
I see the pink stickers. That's how he knows what type
very
of milk.
happy. This is him at the
Alex learns very, very quickly.
food pantry.
So we're trying to figure
So
out
he shreds
what will be a new step for him to do
mail for them
independently.
which he loves. A lot of our guys love shredding, scanning documents, editing, shredding.
Awesome. Where are we going for lunch, Alex?
McDonald's.
McDonald's. And what are we gonna eat at McDonald's?
Really nice. French fries.
So this
Okay,
is
so Alex is now looking.
so I'll show you the last clip is
Side bunch of tomatoes to.
so
Awesome.
we during our training we also make sure that we provide challenges for him, so he practiced to solve challenges and problem on his own, and that's him at the library.
You always.
And he enjoys doing this because it's nice and quiet, and he does it pretty much independently.
Check the items he.
Okay, so there he is working on his toffee orders. Okay, so that's it really. Okay,
Thank you,
so now
Mixie.
sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we do questions.
Yes, now we go to the panel session itself. All right,
Yeah.
Miss Dami. Okay, we're still waiting for your questions in the comment section. Let's drop your questions as soon as you can. Where is Miss Dami?
There was one question earlier, but I forgot what it was. What was that?
Yes.
So we can talk about that.
Oh,
one.
someone.
Okay.
Okay, so Macy, this question will be directed at you. I can't find Miss Dami, so I'll just take up.
Go ahead.
All right, so someone said that, how do we address the issue of marriage and relationships with adults living with disabilities? Some parents don't know how to handle this part of, of life. How do we handle such aspect of their life? Marriage,
Well, it's
love,
really,
relationship.
yeah, but it's really up to them whether they want to have that kind of relationship or not, right? So it's not for everyone. And I think that there's a show called Love on the Spectrum that's on Netflix, if you have Netflix, but that's a sweet show. And I think that a lot of autistic adults, their life is simpler when they live on their own, because it's just easier unless they can find a partner who can understand them and really cherish them and be in that like kind of relationship where, both people can grow together, but that's not everyone, right? But I think in terms of relationship and how that feel, again, we go back to that relationship is how we feel, and we are pretty much part of that relationship. So I think if kids have a secure attachment and relationship with their parents at home, and they feel accepted and nourished, then they're more likely to be able to find that with peers. I think that's very important, that they feel loved, because that's how they know what is a good relationship versus a bad relationship, right? And there are a lot of bad people out there, and as parents, we protect our kids so much that we can't protect them when they're in school. And that happens to my son also. There are bullies out there, and just because your child is verbal, it doesn't mean your child reads other people's intentions.
True.
Until things get really, really bad, But I think healthy relationship at home serves as a model for a healthy relationship, and self-advocacy is part of it. We don't like it as parents when our kids push back, but that is an important development foundation for them to be able to say, no, I don't like what you're saying. No, I don't want to do that. So I think it's all about balancing, when our kids say no, stand up for themselves, when we do respect that and when we have to work through it, basically.
Okay, thank you so much,
Okay.
Macy. Gwen, I'd like you to answer that question because I know you have an adult. I know there is Zane. So how is he coping with relationships? Does he have marital plans? Well, if you do not want to say this here, that's fine. But we just want to know from your point of view, how do you talk about these things with him as an adult?
That's a huge, huge issue. Zane has been blessed in that area. He has a girlfriend that he met in Special Olympics years ago, and
Yeah.
they're dating pretty seriously. They're even considering marriage, but I that's a ways off. There's a lot of things to consider. But I also wanted to go back to some of the things Macy said. All the presentations have been wonderful. She really touched on so many things about good parenting. And if you really think about it, all that's good for parenting across the board, whether you have a typical child or neurodivergent, and that aspect of falling in love with the child you have. Because I'll be really transparent here. One of my concerns with our when we present and we speak with Zane, I mean, we feel incredibly blessed, but we don't want it to come off like, oh, everyone has an artistic gift. Everyone has a passion, though. And I really want to point out that when he discovered his passion for music, before all this took off, that changed him. He was very unhappy with himself prior to that. And it gave him such joy. So, and that, I think that was the part that had led to other development. But I mean, what you guys have been saying is so important, that parenting and a loving home builds a foundation for almost every aspect of life.
True.
So thank you for pointing that out. Both, I mean, all of you were just wonderful.
Thank you. I agree with you. Parenting, intentional parenting, deliberate parenting actually is a pivotal aspect, towards living a meaningful, and sustainable life. Considering the fact that, from the home front, parents have taken ownership and are already building even on the skills that we feel are some things they need to know, they need to learn. It's something they must have incorporated in their day-to-day living and day-to-day existence as siblings, as children, as members of family, a loving family, providing them such enabling environment to thrive. All of this in the long run directs us towards directs these individuals rather towards living a meaningful, functional, and independent life. I totally agree with you both on that. All right. So another question is going to be for Tola Makinde. The question here is vocational goals. Vocational goals. How do we, this will be for Tola Makinde and also for Macy. How do we plan these goals? How do we, now I want you to talk to parents. Now professionals on the platform would have an idea of what to do, but how do parents from their own side, as parents in their homes, in their lives, how do they help with vocational goals for these individuals towards being functionally independent and able? Let's start with Tola first.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you so much, Macy. I really enjoyed your session. Yeah, I mean, it just shows that there's power in parenting, and we need to just keep doing this like back to back, without giving up. And you see this for me, I know that for the most part, I've tried to check so many times how starting early really, really, would influence the child's ability to learn. And, when we talk about vocational skills and setting goal setting and everything, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Okay, so say hello.
Hello.
Hi, Mo.
Okay, yeah, so you want to consider multiple situations and settings, especially when it's about the skill, the child, you think, or maybe you think maybe the child is interested in, and then you want to test, is it really what the child wants? So setting your goal involves you analyzing, looking for natural occurring abilities, activities, routines, participation, unique opportunities, and then looking at, okay, what is working and is against what is not likely to work for the child. And you continue to tweak it, especially when you have the multiple situation settings, as in a skill becomes mastered and the child is able to do the skills in multiple places with different people, and setting the goal may look like it's a uphill task, but basically what we want to consider is how are you able to connect with the child and the child's strengths, also leveraging on it and collecting data, looking at the instances at which the child is doing 80% of, maybe you have like a long-term 1-year goal, then probably you've actually broken the goals down to 3 months, like in a year. Then you're taking records of what is my child going to be able to achieve in 3 months. What have I noticed? Which areas is she having the deficit? Then you continue to analyze. Then sometimes you see, it's easy because you're observing, like I talked about observing yesterday. It's easy. And sometimes, even if the child is not communicating, you don't want to be too focused on this child is not communicating. Instead, you want to seek ways to encourage communication and ensure that the child even understands, for instance, for elementary, what kind of skill is this? Who are the workers? What types of workers do we have? What are they supposed to be doing? At what point in time are they supposed to be doing this? Then the child should also be able to distinguish between work and play, because you want to be teaching a lot of skills that the child will be able to apply at the workplace eventually. I hope I've been able to answer the question.
Yes, yes. All right, Basie, let's hear your thoughts too.
Well, I think that you coming from a behavioral background, I know a lot about setting goals and task analysis, and
Sure. Yeah.
that was my gold standard. But I think that doing it that way is too slow. because you cannot predict all the uncertainties that happens the moment you open your eyes in the morning. True. And I learned the hard ways when I prepared and designed repeated practice and do it parent trainings and using scripts, social stories, this and that, and the child still could not problem solve something that seems so logical. Like, don't wait in front of an empty cashier at a supermarket. Go find another cashier so you can pay for your groceries. You know what I mean?
Yes.
This is the failure of many curriculums, whether it's parent training, the way we educate our kids, vocational training, because it's based on deficits. And we forget that unless we help the person, we activate that part of their brain so that they can follow their own gut instinct. All these are we're just barely scratching the surface. You know what I mean? So my advice for parents is, number one, is to be kind to yourself, because no one has a crystal ball and no one knows everything. Including myself, right? But make sure you take care of yourself, because if your cup is empty, you cannot be a good parent at all. and our kids need us. But I think people forget that it takes two to tango, because we're all moms and women are incredible. We have so many things to give to our children. But at the end of the day, it's up to them to take which tips, right? So to answer your question is that I think as parents, we can only show the pathways, right? And when we are in the right mindset, in the right frame of mind, emotionally, physically, that we could be in the moment with our kids, doing whatever activities, going to take a walk, preparing dinner together. That's the best opportunities for them to develop, like, I can actually handle some chit chat.
True. I agree with you.
Right. True. Like my son says, Mom, you repeat yourself so much. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Like it takes two to tango. Like, and we can't treat our kids. We have to grow with our kids, true, even though they're non-speaking, even people who are non-speaking, they're so aware of other people's energy, people's vibes. There is such a thing, because my son will tell me, oh, I could see those things. Do you see those things that are shiny? Like, I'm like, what things? Because he's calibrated differently, like visually, and I think all we can do is try to be in the same wavelength. It all comes down to our intentions. Sure. And kids feel it. If we can be the best part of us, then that's good modeling for our kids, for all of our kids, and sometimes it's very hard because we're tired, and we're impatient. I have failed so many times, like yelling at my kids with the windows open, and like, I feel so embarrassed, but we're only humans. And I think the best thing is to show our kids, you just fail many times. And the most important thing is to just tell them you bounce back quickly, however that may be. So like a quick example, I have a very picky eater at home. We are a chicken nugget family, and I'm proud of it. My son can eat chicken nugget multiple times a day, so cooking, unless it's sweets, he's not into it, and he has sensory defensiveness, so he won't touch stuff, right? So what I do with him a lot is to watch a lot of cooking YouTubes. And one day he saw how to make McDonald's style French fries. So he said, oh, okay, Mommy, I want to learn how to make that. So it took a long time to from finding the clip, deciding when to do it, actually doing it. And all the thinking is on me, because he has his walls up. I don't want to touch that. I don't want to do this part, but it's on me to read him, like, okay, today's not a good day because it's too late to do this. So last night we did it. We did it. He ate it.
Yeah.
And that was a celebration for our family, and this is what I mean. It takes two to tango, because the focus tend to be fixing our kids, where we're actually the one gifted with our own growth mindset as well. Because if our kids are all typical, it's all easy, then our brain probably just get rusty and just do the same stuff. But raising neurodivergent kids, it's like, give us like so many opportunities to be better people.
Thank you, Macy. True, I agree with you. A lot of times when we feel, oh, we want to set some goals, and then it makes us at some point it makes us too rigid and unable to read. Right. Unable to read this individual's emotions, our children's emotions, their feelings, their readiness. Are they actually ready for what you feel is time for them to learn? So yes, at most of the time, letting these things happen, naturally through enabling opportunities. For example, you imagine your son has been in the kitchen with you a while. He's been seeing you do all of these things. He got to a point where he got interested in making the French fries the McDonald's way. And then he himself voiced out his interest. That's because he's in an environment that has enabled him, to come to that position. So yes, we as parents, teaching skills or setting vocational goals is not something we just wake up one morning and we say we want to do. It's something that we have kept in our mind all the while, just waiting for the right time to let that thing, that skill manifest or develop. All right, thank you so much. So we have just about 2 more questions to go. And one question is directed at Regina. Regina, I saw her a couple of minutes ago. Regina, are you here? Hope we haven't lost you. Regina? Oh, she's here. Regina? Okay, so anyway, Regina will come to it. So another question, basically, this question now is for, this question.
Hello, Dami, I'm here, but I was, so you get on, I'll get back to you. I'm here, but I came in, sorry.
No problem, Regina, thank you. So we were just gonna ask you, how do you reach out to parents? How do you, I remember, one of our conversations, you talked about getting parents to see the importance of getting individuals with disabilities, getting them to see that there is life beyond that disability, getting parents to see that there is more to life than just a diagnosis and maybe a physical presentation. There is more to life. How do you do that from, as a director of SNAP for Ghana? I know you do something like that with your individuals in Ghana. From in your perspective, as a Ghanaian, how do you do that?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, we do lots of things, but from my perspective, one thing that has really helped in my experience is encouraging parent self-help groups. And so when they have these groups, they come together, and usually we try to have a very good example in the community. There are lots of people with special needs who have made it. And then they come and they have a chat with the parents, they share their experiences, and then we facilitate whatever discussions that go on. In my experience, this has been helping them a lot.
So just like Macy said, you learn from autistic individuals, you didn't just wait to hear professionals. Only professionals keep telling you this, telling you that. You learn from these individuals who are growing, who are now what you want your child to be, or who have gotten to a level you see your child getting to. You learn from them. Very true. Very true. Thank you so much. So our final question will be coming from Ms. Dami. And then we will be talking about KTC-KYC, giving you, just a brief download, and then we'll be calling the conference. We'll be calling it to an end. All right, Ms. Dami.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, we've all been talking about empowering these individuals. But one question I want to find out is, Tola, are you still here?
Tola, yes.
And then I think Gwentu has a child with that is on the spectrum as well. I just want to find out, at what point were you able to separate your emotions? Like every mother, when you give birth to a child, you expect your child to turn out right. And all of a sudden you realize that, oh, okay, this is what you're confronted with. At what point were you able to separate your emotions or the way you felt about that child and the disability? And when you decide that, okay, this is what God has given me, let me just make the best out of this individual.
Okay, so I believe the question is for me, right?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So for me, let me talk about my own experience from my own perspective, because I had been exposed to a child with Down syndrome in the US 7 years before I had my daughter. So I quite understood where, the child, was coming from then, and how, I mean, this is a child that I see every year and I lived with for a short period. So when I had my daughter, I knew that I needed to do everything, you know, in her favor and all for her. So it wasn't about me being emotional or me feeling sorry for her or something like that. And so there were times that, yeah, I had my low moments, but I think being assertive has kind of helped me, and to keep moving in the right direction, even though there is no one best method or best way. So I find myself always having to tweak, you know, the solutions, just looking for ways to continue to encourage the behavior I want to see. Let me use for behavior. Then it also made me realize that I needed to continue to strategize as a parent. And I didn't really feel at any point, I didn't really feel sorry for her having Down syndrome. Yeah, apart from all the medical, issues that we've been through. She has a device in her heart. Many times I even forget she's got a device in her heart. And, recently she had a bad fall from the, first flight of the staircase, down, 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 down like that with a bucket of water. And I didn't even know where she was going with a bucket of, she didn't have to do that. She just wanted the experience because she sees a caregiver carrying a bucket of water from one room to another. So, and this makes me feel like, oh, she's learning, but at the same time, she had a blindfold over her face and she fell down the staircase. And if we had to do like a MRI, we wouldn't have been able to do that because she's got a device in her heart. And yes, so we had to go through that situation. I asked questions. Why did you have to, put a blindfold over your eyes? So at many times, at so many experiences we've had together, I've never really felt sorry for her, and I always have to put my foot down, like, yeah, I mean, and sometimes, of course, how behavior can be. You ignore the behavior and, try to see a positive behavior being repeated, looking for strategies to ensure that and sometimes, of course, you don't know. Sometimes I need to figure what could be the stressor or what could be triggering the behavior, or I need to figure, could there be underlining, is there something I've not done? So always I have to go back, I have to check and go to check I have check boxes too. I have to deal with sometimes, okay, why is this behavior just happening? They should just pick this somewhere, and then we start to develop a plan, strategize on how to reduce the behavior. So I don't know if I was able to answer your question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I
Thank
would like to hear from Gwen as well.
Okay. And that's a huge, huge issue because we're all people, we're all struggling, and it's a process and something my husband and I talk about a lot. And some of the wording may be a little strong, but I sometimes call the parents in the disability community, we're damaged because we're dealing with this maybe crisis. I don't know if that's the right word. And it's hard, but I go back to Macy's word, you've got to find a way to fall in love with your child. And my husband has a phrase he says that I also think is kind of shocking, but I think it gets people's attention. When you get that diagnosis first, it feels like almost a death. It's not a death, but we use that word because you have to let the child that you thought you had die. You do, so you can deal with the one you actually have. And that is such a hard way to say it, but I think it shows the importance, and then you go about living it. But it is a process. I mean, and I'll tell you, I don't know, we don't have a physical disability, but a physical disability is more concrete. So it may at times be easier to wrap your mind around it. when it's behavioral or intellectual, it's a little more hazy. And you got to find a way to unconditionally love that child. And I mean, I went through that. I remember when Zane was very young, having a moment, and my husband and I talking about it, him even telling me, we can't operate like we feel sorry for him. The world's not going to feel sorry. We've got to raise him to be able to deal with this world. But it just takes time. But there are genuinely things I love about the autistic mind that I do remember when I finally came to a realization. I said, if there was a cure, suppose that he could take a pill, I'm not sure I'd want him to do it, because there are things I love about the sincerity, the heart. And I mean, that may not be everyone's story, but everyone has something they love about it. And you have to be that parent, that loving parent. And it'll be amazing what grows out of that when you get to that point. But don't be so hard on yourself. Some days are hard. And you know what? You just, get back up the next day and commit to it again. And like, I don't want to beat this into the ground, but part of our message is all parents have struggles. All parents have issues. And in some ways, we're no different. So just be gentle with yourself, love yourself, and love that child. I had one other thing that was really instrumental for me. I believe when Zane was around 14, he was hitting puberty. He was becoming a little more aware of his differences, and he absolutely hated himself. I mean, I was worried he was going to hurt himself, and he was so angry. And at the same time, it was during that period, he discovered the guitar. And I wonder if he hadn't had that angst, if he would have focused so much. I don't know. But I had a friend who was a counselor who told me when he was 14, she just asked me, does he know he's autistic? Which kind of blew my mind at the time, because that's all I felt like my husband and I talked about. But I had never had that conversation directly with him. And I realized that because when I went home, well, I left this out. She asked me if he was autistic, and she said, does he know? And she said, well, why not? That's how God made him. That's who he is. So why doesn't he know? And that really, it convicted me. And I realized how fearful I was to have that conversation with him. And I finally did it. And it was over weeks, if not months. And right after that, for weeks, anytime he met somebody, he would ask them, are you autistic? Because I'm autistic. And that was his way of processing. But now he's 25. It's no big deal. We talk about it. It's who he is. There's no shame. And I'm so grateful that someone gave me the wake-up call to deal with it like that. Because I know a lot of people where it's filled with shame. And how does a child or an adult or anyone operate in their fullness if they're ashamed of who they are?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So that's
Can I just add one sentence
Yes,
to that?
yes, Casey, yes.
For
yes.
all the parents here, do not lose your sense of self, and find something that you can be passionate about outside of autism, whether it's cooking, gardening, build your own community that you belong to that doesn't have anything to do with autism, because that feeds our soul as a person. So you don't want a diagnosis to make your world smaller. It's not it's not fair for your partner, your neurotypical child, so don't lose your sense of self.
Sure. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Macy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Miss Dami. Thank you for co-moderating with me
You're
today.
welcome.
Thank you so much. All right. So this is the Vocational Outreach, Special Needs Vocational Outreach Summit, a seminar, virtual seminar 2020. And it's been such an insightful experience talking with parents, talking with parents, talking with professionals, talking with young adults, talking with guardians, and talking with caregivers, whoever we are all are. I know we have quite a number of people on the who were part of the program all from yesterday till today. Thank you all for coming. This program was put together by KTC-KYC Educational Consult and Academy. We owe two important conferences like this yearly. The school outreach, which is usually in the month of March, where we reach out to schools, we reach out to teachers, and we help them with providing adequate support for children with needs, in the classroom, in the mainstream school, how to help them access learning, understand the nitty-gritties of IEP drafting and writing, setting up an effective special educational needs department in their schools, and how parents should be taking ownership of their children's learning in the mainstream school. And also the second program is this one that we are concluding today, the special needs vocational outreach, where we talk about everything around vocational skills development, because we want to see a whole individual. We want to see a whole neurodivergent individual, not just somebody with a disability, but a whole person who is adding value and who is leading a meaningful and impactful life. Thank you all for coming today. So if you need further questions about our academy, you need further questions about KTC-KYC, you can reach us on any of our social media platforms. Our speakers would be happy to have you reach them too if you have questions. I know Macy does some weekly program on our Instagram handle where she brings in neurodivergent population, people, she brings them on board, she interviews them, they talk about their skills, they talk about their vocation, they talk about what they are doing at the moment, and all that. They talk about their journey, so Macy does that. And I know for Gwen, her son, Zane goes for programs, and I see them on Facebook almost every week. So feel free to follow Blue Spectrum, feel free to follow Macy Sotanio. Feel free to follow Autism Career Pathways on Instagram. I trust that next year, Gwen, this is with your permission now, we would love to have Zane on the program to talk by himself. Let's hear from his mouth how he has come through the journey himself. Thank you all. Also, if you have questions as a parent with a child with Down syndrome, you can always reach out to Tola Makinde on Instagram and Facebook, on any other platforms. If you want to reach us on advice on how to take that leap in vocational skills development for your young adults, your teenagers, reach us at any of our platforms. I am Damlola Banwa Yalaja. All my handles have my name, the KTC-KYC Educational Consult page and the KTC-KYC Educational Consult and Academy group. All that, the KTC-KYC_Academy on Instagram. You can always reach us for further questions, clarifications. We will be willing to help you. That's why we are here. This is my career. This is my what I'm passionate about. This is what I am doing as a means of giving back to my society, adding value as a professional. So feel free to reach us. Any of us, we will be willing to walk the walk with you. We know it's a big task, and we know it's a challenging one, having a neurodivergent child or person. However, that's why you have professionals who are working and doing their best to ensure that adequate information and support is out there. Thank you all for coming today. A big thank you to all our speakers. Thank you, Gwendolyn Ashaw. I called you up. Did I call you? No, I sent you a text. I said, oh yeah, it's that part of the year again. And then you jumped on it. Yes, thank you, Gwendolyn. Thank you, Macy. The first time I discussed with Macy was so excited about it. I said, oh yes, Dami, don't worry, I'm on already. And then thank you so much for believing in us. We hope to have more of this collaboration. We hope to do much more in the future. And I've told you, if you need me, just tell me. That's New York fashion thing you're talking about. We're on it together. Don't worry.
Okay. All right.
All right. So
bye, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Team. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes. Thank you to the entire KTC-KYC team. Thank you to Regina. Thank you all. Thank you, Tola Makinde. Thank you all. God bless you all. Have a wonderful evening. See you next year.